by Hyundai Ioniq 5, co-powered by Qatar Airways, Sera, ArcelorMittal Nippon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID surge in China has sent alarm bells ringing in India and the world. The centre has warned that COVID isn't over just yet and that it's ready to tackle any possible situation. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia today wrote to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, urging them to strictly follow COVID protocols during their Bharat Jodo Yatra. Mandavia in his letter said that if following protocols wasn't possible, then Rahul must suspend his yatra in national interest. But the Congress party has completely become absolutely furious and has accused the BJP of hypocrisy. The Congress leaders asked why the rules were being applied only to one party when BJP leaders were taking out yatras in Karnataka, in Rajasthan and in Bengal. As the Congress questioned the centre's intention, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia hit back saying that there was no possibility of special treatment being given to one Parivaar and that COVID rules would apply equally to all. Listen in.
3 MP ने मुझे पत्र लिखा था कि राजस्थान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है। हिमाचल के सम्मानीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पर भी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए थे, उसके बाद उसमें भी कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया। लेकिन कोई खास फैमिली के प्रोटेक्शन में आके एक देश के हेल्थ मिनिस्टर अपना दायित्व अदा करता हो, कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन करके कोविड ना फैले उसके लिए कोई मार्गदर्शक सूचना जारी करे। हम खास लोगों को कैसे क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते, यही उसकी मानसिकता हो तो उसका तो मेरे पास कोई जवाब नहीं। लेकिन आज सुबह से मैं देख रहा हूं जिस तरह से मुझे कोट करके कोविड के संदर्भ में मुझे क्वेश्चंस कर रहे हैं। आपने ऐसी चिट्ठी नहीं लिखनी चाहिए, क्यों लिखा? मैं भारत सरकार का हेल्थ मिनिस्टर होने के नाते मेरा दायित्व है कि देश में कोविड ना फैले।
Ladies and gentlemen, the centre's letter has sparked off an angry war of words between the Congress and the BJP, even as the centre has already asked states to ramp up efforts to prevent an outbreak in India, and efforts are being made in this direction. The Congress didn't want to give any credence to all of these measures. In fact, they went on to say that it was the Bharat Jodo Yatra that was on target, and the BJP is scared because the yatra is getting a huge response from the public. Listen in to this war of words.
राहुल गांधी जी की भारत जोड़ो यात्रा और क्यों कोरोना फैल रहा है तो इसलिए आप इनको पाबंद करें कि ये कोरोना किस प्रकार से यात्रा कर रहे हैं। और तो मनसुख जी जो है उसी 20 तारीख को पत्र लिख रहे राहुल गांधी जी को, कल ही लिख रहे लेटर। अभी हमारे पास तो सोशल मीडिया में आया है कि आप ये सब प्रिकॉशन कीजिएगा, मास्क की भी, डिस्टेंसिंग की भी, क्वारंटाइन करने की भी। ये बुखलाहट का एक बड़ा नमूना सामना है देश के सामने।
क्या एक परिवार सब प्रोटोकॉल से ऊपर है? ये तो मैं मान सकता हूं कि आज भी गांधी परिवार में कांग्रेस के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष को ज़्यादा एक परिवार को मान्यता मिलती है, लेकिन देश का प्रोटोकॉल, कोविड का प्रोटोकॉल तो उनको फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। आखिर क्या कारण है कि आज भी एक पार्टी, एक राजनीतिक दल एक परिवार तक अपने आप को सीमित रखता है और उसके लिए सारे प्रोटोकॉल तोड़ने के लिए भी तैयार?
क्यों भारत जोड़ो यात्रा को निशाना बनाया? राजस्थान में हमने बीजेपी के गढ़ से हम चले झालावाड़, और जो पब्लिक का रिस्पांस हमें मिला वो भारी मात्रा में, खास तौर से महिलाएं ने हमारी स्वागत की। डबल स्टैंडर्ड नहीं होने चाहिए। और इसमें राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। ये स्वास्थ्य का मामला है, पब्लिक का मामला है, और काश अगर ये होता, ये इतने सावधानी से काम करते तो कुंभ मेला नहीं होता।
जो कोविड को मोविड बुलाती है, तो आज मैं इतना ही कहूंगा, राहुल जी, बी राहुल नॉट रोविड। एक भारतीय नागरिक की जान पे खतरा बनाए तो क्या यह चिंताजनक नहीं? तो यही कहूंगा कि कुछ
On the Newshour tonight, will the Congress put India above politics? That's the question, and that's the debate. Corona politics Toro, that's the hashtag and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining the debate tonight, Shehzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP, Smita Prakash, editor of ANI, Suhel Seth, columnist, Dr. Suman Sriraman, political analyst, Riju Datta, spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. But my first question goes to Vivek Bansal, member of the Congress Working Committee. And Mr. Vivek Bansal, it's rather surprising to see that the Congress party has taken the warning letter or the request letter of the health minister just so negatively. After all, Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu, the Himachal chief minister, came out positive with COVID infection, just 2 days ago. So isn't it natural that the Congress should have automatically done COVID tests, looked at people who came into contact with him, and just because the health minister is requesting you, to take COVID protocol seriously, there is politics all over the place?
No, it's not a question of politics. It's basically a question of being very even-handed and uniform. Uniformity needs to be there. And just my first question is, has the government imposed the protocol in the entire country, or just single out the Congress Bharat Jodo Yatra for the COVID guidelines? Definitely, if it is imposed, imposed in the country throughout, we will abide by that. For us, country is definitely foremost, and we look at things at a wider perspective. But the thing is, BJP's yatras are going on in Karnataka and other states. Their political functions are going on. And on the other hand, they come out harshly on this Bharat Jodo Yatra. So our point is not that we would like to be defiant or that on that, or we would like to flout the norms of COVID protocol. But our humble submission is that COVID guidelines needs to be, government should come out with its policy that COVID guidelines are to be imposed like it had been earlier when we were foreseeing COVID menace engulfing the country or the human race or the world. So at that point of time, COVID guidelines were imposed. So if the government is coming with that, definitely it may be a forewarning if they want to say that we are just forewarning you, and that's good enough. But at the same time, they should come out clearly that these guidelines have been imposed, and we would adhere to them once you impose those guidelines.
Fair point. Let me take that question to Mr. Shehzad Poonawala.
And what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander as well. So you have to be uniform. This is what even-handed at the outside I said.
Well, so Shehzad Poonawala, it's a very logical point of view. If you have, national COVID guidelines, then they should be imposed on all. Why only a letter to Mr. Rahul Gandhi and for the Bharat Jodo Yatra? Because Mr. Punya is doing the Jan Akrosh rally in Rajasthan, the same state where you're saying that this warning really came out of. वहां पर आप पूनिया साहब की रैली के विजुअल्स if we can run, you'll see people not following any COVID protocol. So why is it only targeting Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party?
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल नाविका, आई फर्मली बिलीव कि पैंडेमिक पर पॉलिटिक्स नहीं होना चाहिए और किसी भी दल को अपने दल हित को देश हित के ऊपर, अपने परिवार को प्रोटोकॉल के ऊपर और अपने व्यक्तिगत हित को जनहित के ऊपर नहीं रखना चाहिए। अब देखिए, आपने कहा कि क्या स्पेशल केस किया गया है कांग्रेस के लिए? बिल्कुल नहीं नाविका। जिस दिन वो लेटर लिखा गया है राहुल गांधी जी को, श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी के साथ सारे स्टेट्स को, मतलब कांग्रेस स्टेट, बीजेपी स्टेट, थर्ड पार्टी स्टेट, सभी स्टेट्स को सूचना दी गई है राजेश भूषण हेल्थ सेक्रेटरी के द्वारा कि किस प्रकार से कंटेनमेंट, सर्वेलेंस, मैनेजमेंट ऑफ कोविड के लिए, क्योंकि वैश्विक स्तर पर केसेस बढ़ते जा रहे, 55% की बढ़ोतरी हुई है, तो किस प्रकार से कुछ चीजें आपको करनी है, हर स्टेट को गाइडलाइन दिया गया है। नाउ यू विल कम टू द स्पेशल केस ऑफ कांग्रेस। मैडम, प्लीज टेल मी विद अ हार्ट ऑन योर हैंड ऑन योर हार्ट, which other large scale political yatra where a CM has tested positive is taking place in the country except for this yatra? There is only one instance. It is the Bharat Jodo Yatra. And how effective Bharat Jodo Yatra, you ask Nakul Nath ji. Nakul Nath तो कहते मेरी उप यात्रा में ज्यादा भीड़ आती है, so I don't want to get into who's rattled, who's not rattled. Rattle होते तो पहले दिन पर rattle होते, अब 100वें दिन के बाद rattle हो रहे हैं। भाई क्या कमाल का तर्क है। गुजरात में तो हम rattle हो गए हैं, आप देखे ना कितना rattling इफेक्ट था उस पूरे भारत जोड़ो यात्रा का। But let me not get into this. Navika, the fact of the matter is that the only large scale continuous political engagement and activity where a person like the CM has tested positive is the Bharat Jodo, but the Congress party can't say कि you know in Delhi there is a culture, मेरा बाप कौन है, जानते हो मेरा बाप कौन है, मैं कैसे रूल पालन करूंगा। So this kind of attitude Congress is saying, this is for the benefit of Congress workers. No BJP worker is going in Bharat Jodo. It is the Congress workers. We may have differences. I may not like Mr. Bansal's face, but the fact is that even if his workers are going, they must get the full protection. And we know who was promoting vaccine hesitancy. Who said भारत बायोटेक वैक्सीन में गौ का बछड़े का खून है? Who said वैक्सीन मत लेना मर जाओगे, लैब रैट बन जाओगे, हम इसको नहीं यूज करेंगे? Who was promoting vaccine hesitancy? Who promoted the entire COVID mismanagement theory and went into international publications and even blamed Mahakumbh for it? And today when we are saying don't become a COVID Jodo, be a Bharat Jodo, then you have a problem with it. I have a suspecting feeling, Navika, and I didn't want to say this, but I will say it now, that perhaps because the global headlines are not very good for China, there might be some people bound by MOU who are feeling कि यहां से भी एक आध कुछ गलत हेडलाइन निकल जाए तो मेरा चीन बचा रहे। ऐसी कोई भावना है क्या किसी की? तो बता दें।
Our friend is going so far-fetched things and all. He's coming out and I think he's indulging in rhetorics when he said कि country is, he started with that politics should not be, there are certain issues which are above politics. So the main point is now he says that these guidelines have been issued to everyone. So if there is going to be a check on any yatra, it is not a question that Bharat Jodo Yatra is mammoth or your yatras are minuscule. Basically, anybody, you see, any gathering more than 4 is prohibited.
No. Let me come in here and let me put a logical question on all of this. And Smita Prakash, I want to ask you, Smita, there was a notification, an advisory that was sent by the Health Secretary to all states. Now, first things first, I would have thought that since health is a state subject as well, most states would have woken up to that central advisory and looked at crowded areas. And it's not like China visuals are coming only to New Delhi. They're coming across the country on internet, everywhere it's available. People would have taken notice on their own and there was a central advisory. Now, none of the states have really taken any notice of that, but they're raising the question, this is targeting of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. The fact is that there is one COVID case that has come out, and that is the high-profile case of the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh. I mean, so far the Congress has not given any indication of whether testing was done, how many people came into contact with him, whether there is a possibility of a spread, so on and so forth. So isn't it rather rich for them to just say that, "Arey, dar gaye hai Bharat Jodo Yatra se"?
Well, Navika, I think there are two aspects to it. One is the health-related protocols, which the letter had, and the other is the politics of it. But the fact is that there are no formal COVID protocols in place. At least I don't think they are currently on anywhere in the country. And the priority, frankly, should be the health authorities, whether in the state or in the center. That should be the priority, and not the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I think whether the Bharat Jodo Yatra will be or could be a super spreader event is something that we can discuss later. As always, the focus of the country, becomes political, even when there is something like, a potential health crisis that we might be looking at. We don't know as yet. We saw that even during the Alpha wave and the Delta wave. And I mean, the ordinary people of this country were disgusted, nauseated with the way political parties, at the whiff of a slight political crisis, the whiff of a slight crisis would turn anything political in nature and go see an opportunity in everything to pull down the government, or the government pull down the opposition. I mean, people who have no connection with politics, Navika, find it annoying. In fact, even the media, they get angry with that. Why are you bothering with politicians? The thing is that, anything political we have to cover, and that's why we are covering whatever the ruling party is saying or whatever the opposition is saying, simply with regard to the politics of it. With regard to the health issues of it, every single aspect needs to be covered by the media, and everybody needs to see what are the protocols that will come into place, because all of us are worried, right? You as a parent will be worried. What's going to happen to your children's education? Are they going to lock everything down? Are they, for heaven's sake, everything is just about starting. So people are worried. Let's get that into action. Let's see about that. And to see that China doesn't, China is a biohazard in every manner, looking at the visuals. Hopefully they will not turn this into a bioweapon against India. So what happens to the flights? If suppose a person is coming through a third country, if he's not even a Chinese passport holder, he's traveled to China, he could be a biohazard coming into this country. So it's a mammoth task for the health department of the center as well as the states, and I think they should concentrate on just that and not the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Well said. And Suhel Seth, you think that this is an issue on which there should be, so much of hoo-la-la that is being raised by both sides. Ek keh raha hai ki COVID rules cannot be bent for one family. The other side is saying, oh, Bharat Jodo Yatra is on target. While we don't know whether people are flying in, even as we speak, from China and being the super spreaders in India.
First, the BJP and the Congress should decide, buy an akhada, and every day wrestle themselves to death. Because, as Bernard Shaw said, when whales fight, shrimps are eaten. The shrimps here are we, the common people. Okay, this is a serious humanitarian crisis that we are facing. Let me give you some breaking news on your channel. This evening, I spoke to Adar Poonawala of Serum Institute. In the next 2 to 3 days, they are filing for approval of the Novavax booster with the Drug Controller of India. This is a serious health emergency. The distractions are the Bharat Jodo Yatra and that Punya's Yatra and someone else's rally. This has to stop. A. B. Mr. Manvia has created this mess for himself. As Shehzad rightly said, if there is an advisory which has been given to all the states, then mention rallies within that advisory. Why take up panga for no rhyme or reason? Because then you distract from the main purpose. The main purpose is not Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra, but about the health crisis that we are about to engulf ourselves in if we don't take precautions. Number 3, what are we doing in terms of eradicating the fear in the common man or woman's mind? Today, Navika, people are scared and people have given up all protocols of safety. The airports are a mess. In aircraft, no one is wearing a mask because they're saying, rule to hai nahi ji, hum kyun pehne? We have decided that Corona will never re-enter our lives. But it has created havoc in China. The United States of America has now gone door-to-door campaigning with free vaccination. So obviously it is a crisis. So here's what my solution is. Mr. Manvia and his, all his finely intelligent people must issue a national advisory tomorrow, which says this is the problem, this is the solution, this is what we expect the citizen to do. Number two, since health is a state subject, all the states must be given an advisory where you include things like rallies, yatras, congregation of a certain type, as you did in the past. And finally, we need to ramp up our healthcare infrastructure. Otherwise, again, we'll be seen wanting. Having said that, I have to say, and I'm neutral in this, Narendra Modi did a fantastic job. India did a fantastic job when we addressed the issue of COVID, given the size of our country. So I genuinely believe focus on the health to hell with the politics, because we have the capacity to infuse politics even into eating a humble samosa. That's who we've become. We need to focus on the healthcare emergency that we are facing today.
Well, Shehzad Poonawala, both Smita and Suhel Seth are right, because, you know, with this letter, with the advisory as it is, there is a sense of alarm in the people of India. And we have been getting calls from friends, from family, from viewers who are asking questions. Oh, is it going to be as bad as before? Are we going to go into a lockdown? Will the guidelines come back? You know, these are questions that people are raising. Instead of answering these questions, why are we focusing on the Bharat Jodo Yatra? Is a genuine concern of the people of the country. Shehzad.
Navika, since you also cover a lot of policies and government, and so does Smita and her organization, they would know better than most. In fact, many of Smita's reporters report on this on a very regular basis, that Mr. Mandavia has been taking regular meetings to review the preparedness, not just in terms of surveillance, but in terms of availability of drugs, availability of beds, oxygen, all the other requirements that we once felt that need to be ramped up, and to ensure that all of this is in place. Now, that is absolutely not as TRP driving perhaps, so that does not get covered to that extent. I'm not trying to take a pot shot at anybody, I'm just being genuine about it, but that kind of work goes on all the time in the government system, particularly under Mr. Mansukh Mandavia, who's working almost 15 hours, 16 hours a day. So there is no limit, there's no problem in that. But why did this particular instance come up? And with all the genuineness at my command, let me tell you that there were certain public representatives who raised the issue that COVID cases, including a chief minister, a sitting chief minister, testing positive out of one event. Now that event needs to have special guidelines, and the chief minister was sensitized, was told that please take precaution, not just for that event, but any other event. So even if our party is doing a similar event there, that also has to come into the same ambit. Where is the problem here? So this is Navika, we should not forget.
The problem is, was a letter written to Mr. Punia? Was a letter written to Mr. Punia?
Just 10 seconds more. Very good. Very good question. Very good question. Is Mr. Punia the administrative head of Rajasthan?
Is Mr. Rahul Gandhi?
He has to follow whatever the state government of Ashok Gehlot decides. If the madam, let me explain it to you again. Navika, just give me 15 seconds. I won't take more than that. Mr. Ashok Gehlot has 1 second. Please bear with me. Mr. Ashok Gehlot, as the chief minister and the head of the state, has been sensitized about all the events in his state. He has to ensure that everything applies, whether it's Bharat Jodo or any other event that is taking place in the state. Rahul Gandhi is the foremost convener of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which is starting to become a super spreader event, and therefore he has been sensitized that he must also personally ensure, because the entire event is more like a Rahul ke piche chalo yatra. So Rahul Gandhi has also been told that since you are the convener or the main mascot of this event, please take the adequate precautions. What wrong have we done? And let me tell you, Navika, politics वो होती है जब यहाँ पर कुछ लोग, जब उनको कहा जाता है कि we will manage the vaccine situation, they say no, let us give the vaccines, and then they say we cannot manage it, Modi ji आप manage करो. Then they play politics and they say Modi ji बच्चों की vaccine विदेश भेज दी. Then they say बछड़े का खून है vaccine में. One person said BJP की vaccine है, the other person said importance ही होता है. Nobody is doing that kind of politics, least of all Mr. Mansoor Bhai Mandavia. He is committed to the cause of public health in this country, and you have seen him work day and night for ramping up infrastructure. Today I am proud to say that we have adequate number of beds, adequate number of drugs, adequate amount of oxygen. It is because of his efforts, and he has been leading this team India, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is guiding.
Well, Riju Datta, Shehzad Poonawalla has a point. There is, Ashok Gehlot ji who's been informed. There is state advisory, and because Bharat Jodo Yatra had a positive case, you can't fault Mr. Health Minister for that.
Navika ji, I have got some very pointed questions and answers to whatever Shehzad said. First of all, I can't care less about Bharat Jodo Yatra. Health should be the topmost priority above any politics. But if Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra was a super spreader, then Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi's 18th December, today is 21st December, 18th December Agartala rally, what was that? So, let's not go into whataboutery. And Shehzad was going on and on what Congress said and opposition leaders said. You remember Thali Bajao, Gana Gao, Diya Jalao, and that major blockbuster, Go Corona Go, which party said? So because of this party's inefficiency, lack of planning, lack of farsightedness, millions died in this country. But let's not go into whataboutery. My question is this: when the health minister, apparently who is working 16-17 hours a day, is not doing any favors on us, that's his job, he's supposed to do that for the country. Now he has issued an advisory, like Suhel ji said, issue a national advisory, every state will follow. For my state, Bengal, already our premier, our chief minister Mamata Banerjee has held a press conference and a health bulletin today, because Ganga Sagar Mela is in West Bengal in January. Third important point: why is the BJP not taking any action, and Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi not taking any action when the visuals are coming out of China? Have they restricted flight travels from China? Have they put a ban on people coming from China? Have they boycotted, at least for the time being, trade from China? If you are not doing that, where the primary threat is China, why are you blaming Congress, Trinamool or anybody else? The people, like Smita ji said, the people of this country are not bothered about politics. Fir sara kuch band hoga, aam aadmi मरेंगे. पहले चाइना को बंद करो ना, जहां से ये डरावनी तस्वीरें आ रहे हैं.
Shehzad Poonawalla, respond, Mr.
May I answer? Riju, may I answer? Riju, yes. Yeah, it's a very valid question from my friend Riju, and I hope he will give me 30 seconds to answer it. Firstly, Mr. Riju, I not only appear on Times Now, I also watch their shows very carefully. Just before this show was Rahul Shivshankar's show with Randeep Guleria, the topmost mind of this country, and he said that right now there is no need for putting any ban on flights. He said it. I'll tell you why. One of the cases which has been detected with BF7 has come from an NRI woman in Gujarat who has come from 11th November, and she's from US.
Now, be the arbiter of that.
Why won't they be responsible for every death of corona in this country?
No, come on, Riju. You will in any case make him responsible for whatever happens in the whole country or the whole world. That's not a fair comment to make. But let me get in Suman Siraman. Suman, 1 minute. Riju Datta ji, आपको गुस्सा क्यों आता है? क्यों आता है? मैं सिर्फ इतना कह रही हूँ कि this is an evolving situation. It is being monitored, and that's exactly what Shehzad Poonawalla ji said. But Suman Siraman, you're a doctor as well. Suman Siraman, I want to ask you, should the first reaction be about banning flights, announcing a lockdown, or do you think awareness and a little warning signal of being careful, because all of us presumed that COVID was behind us. Now cases are rising. Every country is taking note, from China to Korea to Japan to US. We've done a little bit of red flagging of the situation right now over here. And in the past, when it wasn't done, read Rahul Gandhi's tweets. He said the government wasn't acting soon enough and that it was sleeping on the wheel, etc., etc. This time, there is a warning, there is a request, and it is a request letter that has gone. So why वो एक गजल भी है ना गुलाम अली की, हंगामा है क्यों बरपा?
No, Navika, I haven't spoken for 30 minutes, so I please request you to give me 1 minute time. Point number one, we should be very happy that the first response has not been to bang pots and pans and stuff like that. So to that extent, God be praised. Second, very importantly, just today, I've had 3 calls from people asking me, should we take the second booster? I had one patient actually tell me that I have not taken the second dose itself. So now do I need to have 2 doses or do I need to just take a booster? There are no guidelines. What on earth is the government? We don't know. We're just going, talking informally in doctors' groups. Each group decides on its own thing. We go to Google, you follow WHO, try to get some guidelines from the American Medical Association sites and so on. What is the last update on the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare site is 21st November. With today, that is 1 month. This outbreak in China is there for more than 10 days now. And if the only thing that the government is doing is issuing circular to states and saying no and asking for Bharat Jodo Yatra to be postponed, God help all of us. This is the kind of extremely lethargic response which led to WHO actually estimating that 40 lakh people died in this country due to COVID, which again we said, no, WHO is biased, they're all, bad people and they're all miscalculating and so on. Let's be very clear. What the government needs to do, point number 1, have a policy on travel. Should we reintroduce Air Suvidha? Should we keep track of passengers? In fact, Air Suvidha was removed just a few weeks ago. Does it need to be reintroduced? We don't know. Is the government going to take care? A lot of people from China come into India through different airports. They don't necessarily come from China because the number of flights from China to India is very few. So what is our policy on screening of them? And we are sending a letter to Bharat Jodo Yatra. I think it is simply ridiculous that this is the kind of approach that cost us so many lives, that led to shortages. And by the way, I really like the way Shehzad said Mansukh Mandavia has been responsible for dramatically transforming the health infrastructure of this country. Health is a state subject. Unless Mr. Poonawalla has changed it in the last few weeks, health is a state subject. The bulk of the heavy lifting on the health sector has been done by the state governments. What is our vaccine availability position? Nothing is known. For God's sake.
Shehzad Poonawalla, valid concerns being raised by Dr. Suman Siraman. Please respond.
No, ask him to answer my question.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Mr. Raman, and I am so grateful.
As a doctor, I'm asking.
Yes, I'm answering that. Dear Doctor Sahab, I'm answering. Arey sir, whether you ask it as a doctor or as a spin doctor, I'm still answering. मैं इधर ही बैठा हूँ भाई. स्पिन डॉक्टर हो या नॉर्मल डॉक्टर हो, आप सुन लीजिए सर. ऐसा है कि कितना कर्मा का चक्कर चलता है. देखिए, इसी शो पर नाविका, मुझे याद है, सुमन सी रमन यूज्ड टू कम एंड अब्यूज भारत बायोटेक एंड यूज्ड टू से कि कोवैक्सिन, अरे हाउ हैव यू गिवन इट अप्रूवल. टुडे ही इज सेइंग बूस्टर डोज भी लगना चाहिए, डबल बूस्टर डोज लगना चाहिए.
बायोटेक अलाउड इन एनी अदर कंट्री?
कितना जल्दी
भारत बायोटेक टुडे अलाउड इन एनी अदर कंट्री?
कांग्रेस इकोसिस्टम का तो भाई बताइए, देखा आपने नाविका जी, देखा आपने, अब देखा आपने.
You asked questions, you must hear the answer. You must hear the answer. After that you want to rebut him, you can. No, for now, hear the answer. Dr. Sahab.
Okay, you give me time. You give me time to rebut him.
All right. Shehzad.
नाविका, I feel ये सब कुछ कोविन के प्लेटफॉर्म पे है. जरा एक बार खोल के देख लीजिए कितना 90% से ऊपर डबल डोज लग चुका है लोगों को, कितना वैक्सीन किस स्टेट में कितना अवेलेबल है, कितना डोजेज है, सारा कुछ अवेलेबल है रियल टाइम बेसिस पे. पर आप देखते नहीं है. He said that health ministry has not updated anything. In June of this year, June 2022, the operational guidelines for revised surveillance strategy for COVID-19 were issued. Was Suman Siraman doing debates at that time? But the government is working 24/7. So it had revised it just in June. And now also, this is the first line of the PI, the press release of Health Ministry. The first line of the press release of Health Ministry says, COVID is not over yet. And you're saying that I have said that now COVID is over, sab log khushi manao. What kind of propaganda? You know, the same narrative.
Smita Prakash.
There was a bunch of these YouTubers.
Smita Prakash wants to come in. I'm coming to you, Suman Siraman. Smita Prakash first, I'll come back to you.
No, Navika.
Omicron is coming.
You told me you'll give me time to rebut.
I will. I'm not going anywhere. Smita Prakash.
Navika, I don't like giving certificates to anybody and absolutely not on record, but I must agree with Shehzad that if I want at this stage, if we are looking at another COVID wave, if I want anybody in charge, it is Mansukh Mandavia. He works non-stop, and while I agree with Suman Raman that the states pick up a majority of the workload, the fact is that today the states have realized that here is a health minister with whom they have a channel of communication, and he takes no prisoners, mind you. He goes to a state like when the northeast of India was seeing a reluctancy in vaccines, he went out there, sat there, got all the 7-8 states now, got all the states on board and said, either you do this or I will have my people come and sit here and make sure that it is done. I'm telling you things which were off the record, but I'm putting it on record out here to say that this is what happened. And the northeast states just got their act together because they were terrified that the central team will come and start vaccination process. That's how he works.
At that time, Suman Raman, you will actually agree that there were many people who were questioning, are you using us as guinea pigs? Are you using us as rats? The question here is, Suman Raman, वो हिंदी में कहावत है, चित भी मेरी पट भी मेरी. Earlier, if the state did not, if the center did not give warnings, if did not issue guidelines, you had a problem. Now, if it does, you have a problem. What will make you happy?
No, Navika. Navika, let me rebut the very, very important point on Covaxin that Shehzad made. Perhaps he is not aware, but WHO has stopped use of Covaxin outside this country because of questions about their good manufacturing practices, what is called GMP. Is he even aware of that? That Covaxin is not, the government cannot, Bharat Biotech cannot sell Covaxin in different parts of the world now because the WHO has not permitted it. Now, why has the WHO not permitted this wonderful vaccine? Now, you have to ask WHO for that and get them to you give a reply to that. Second question, very, very important point. Covaxin in many ways is similar to Sinopharm and Sinovac, the two Chinese vaccines which were used extensively in China, where they had earlier also flagged issues about its efficacy. Now it's coming back to haunt China. Fortunately, India ended up using, a vast majority of Indians actually got Covishield. Okay, so that is the saving grace as far as India is concerned. And this is not about marketing for any company. There were only two vaccines available in India.
Well, that's another area where I'm not the right person to have an argument with you. We leave that debate for the doctors and the scientists. All I want to say at this moment is, clearly, there are questions, there are fears that once again raise their head. And at this time, what we need is certainly not finger pointing and politics. From the center, of course, we know Mansukh Mandavia ji has done a great job. But the question is, while he is writing these letters, if there were national guidelines, it would help the people of India. On the other hand, it is for the opposition to just understand that this is an evolving situation. And sometimes in such situations, 24 hours may be an hour too many. And policies and reactions and responses to it will keep changing. Let's just, all of us, once and for all, decide to be together to fight COVID. That's the virus. We, by fighting each other, are actually attacking the wrong virus. So just an appeal to all political parties to just hang in there, stay with the people. It's also up to the states to do the best they can